Here's a way to help you think about how to save and allocate money. I'm talking emergency fund, up to figuring out how much money you can allocate towards discretionary spend and investments. Don't worry, we're going to make this easy, allowing you to check off boxes along the way as you save more and get you away from feeling broke into feeling flush with cash. Want to manage your money better and not just let it sit idly by doing nothing? If so, then this video is for you. Let's get started.
So first, I want to say there are levels to this. Once you unlock a new level, the game changes around what to do with that money, where that money should reside, and how that money can contribute to your overall financial freedom and generational wealth. In this video series, we're going to talk about 4 levels and a super secret 5th level that we're not going to get into today, but stay tuned.
One other thing to note is that anytime you use or deplete money from one level, you need to go back and replenish it before putting money into the next level. Think of each level like a cup, and each cup needs to be full before you move on to pouring into another cup.
So let's start at level 1. Level 1 is your emergency fund. We suggest having 1,000 to 2,500 saved here in case of emergencies. So think of having like an emergency car situation or something similar to that. You want to make sure that you have liquid cash available and accessible to yourself. So you should think of this as a do not pass go level. You need to get it funded to at least the 1,000 threshold before you're able to move on to level 2.
Okay, so level 2 is the short-term income replacement fund. This is the I've lost my job fund. Here, you should plan to have 6 to 12 months of net salary saved to cover your expenses while you either find the next gig or don't have to worry about getting evicted. For this money, you definitely want it to remain liquid because having a safety net is no good if you have it locked away in a 3-year CD where you can't access it.
So for me, I have this money invested in a fairly aggressive stock account. And for my personal situation, that makes sense. I'm married, and the likelihood that both my husband and I lose our jobs at the same time, well, that's pretty low likelihood. And so I am okay keeping it funded closer to the 6-month mark and also investing with the potential for a little greater risk. For John, this money is invested in lower risk accounts because he's more comfortable taking on job risk, is unmarried, and has some property obligations where an expensive repair could be needed suddenly. It all depends on your personal situation, how likely you are to actually need to access the funds quickly, and your risk tolerance.
Okay, so on to level 3, the long-term income replacement fund. This is your retirement money. How much you save here and your level of risk will differ based on when you anticipate retiring and how you plan to live once in retirement. If you're below 50, you've likely got a bit more time before you actually plan to retire, so you might want to invest it with more risk tolerance in mind for a long run horizon. For most, that means a diversified portfolio earning somewhere between 7 and 15% per year in return, on average. A few suggestions here on level of contribution. Since there are tax deferred methods of investment here, you want to make sure to take advantage of investing in those options before investing through other vehicles. So, 2 things you should do. First, max out any employer match. This is money your employer either matches dollar for dollar or some percentage of dollar up to a contribution limit. This one is easy. It's free money. Therefore, you should always be investing to the top of your contribution limit at a minimum.
If feasible, try to max out on federally granted contribution or deferral maximums for retirement plans. These vary for employer-sponsored programs, so think 401ks, 403bs, or 457 plans. Individual plans, so traditional or Roth IRAs, SEP IRAs, and catch-up contributions for those above a certain age. Some of these vehicles have income limits where the ability to contribute phases out. So it's important that you know your plan type, know any age-related or income limits attached to your ability to contribute, and that you know the contribution deadlines. Overall, this money grows tax deferred, meaning that you contribute it pre-tax and it grows with compound interest on those pre-tax dollars, or tax-free if you already paid taxes on the amount in the current tax year. So these are huge incentives to save your money via these vehicles. The downside is that you cannot access this cash until age 59 and a half, except for some exceptions for hardship.
So, based on some assumptions, starting before 50, retiring by 65, life expectancy to 90, a good goal to aim for would be contributing about 15% of your income towards retirement. This money should first go into any matched funds or plans, free money first, and then go into tax advantage retirement plan types up to any total contribution limits. Now, as we've explained before, this money grows tax deferred, which is a huge advantage because even if you're in the same tax rate, which most people are in a lower tax rate when they retire, you've already allowed that money to grow with significant compound interest over time before giving the government their cut. So for our own portfolios, we fully max out in this step, of course, based on government contribution limits.
Overall, you choose how to invest your money based on your own personal comfort with risk. However, unless you're within 10 years of retirement, you should be taking on some moderate investment risk here. Given that the early years of retirement are where you're actually going to make the most money, just given the compound interest that John referenced earlier. And then you want to take care to ensure you're slowly decreasing the risk over time as you get closer to retirement age.
And now for the final level, level 4, which is the discretionary income fund. At this point, you've taken steps to improve your standing for emergencies, potential income loss, and retirement. So you're in a great place. If you have additional funds that you'd like to invest beyond those, and remember this should only happen after having completed all 3 prior levels, then we now move into discretionary investments. Please note that many people never make it to this level, and that's perfectly okay. Saving money isn't for the sole purpose of saving. Saving is for money that's earmarked for a purpose. And if you've got the top purposes covered, you should feel really good about what you've done to take care of your needs. However, once you have discretionary funds, we recommend that you continue to invest this money in assets designed to grow and accumulate wealth. Depending on risk tolerance, these may be more aggressive than your other investments, but they should all be invested in things that you have conviction around and that have investment fundamentals backing them up. So think stocks and bonds, investment property, annuities, etc. Just remember to be mindful of how long you hold these assets in order to reduce or manage your tax burden. But the goal is to start to invest your money here in ways that are going to help you accelerate wealth and grow your access to resources that will help you live a more comfortable life.
Now, once you feel comfortable in the growth of your discretionary investments, you may want to invest a small percentage of your portfolio, so think 2 to 5% in high risk assets that have a more volatile expectation of return. Now, this is the super secret 5th level that we alluded to earlier, and we'll discuss further in a separate video. We do not cover them here because these assets are more speculative and they can play a role in an investor's portfolio so long as other assets actually make up the vast majority of that portfolio. Now that we've gone through all of the levels, I want to call out a common question that we typically get around this. And that is, what do you do when you're trying to save for a one-time particular special event? So think like a wedding, a vacation, or something similar. You should think of this money as level 2 money. And that is exactly why level 2 has a range of funding. And if you keep it funded closer to that 9 to 12 month range, then you're able to withdraw for special needs such as this.
Okay, so a quick recap. Think about your savings and investment strategy in terms of levels of graduation, starting with an emergency fund and progressing up to how you use and invest your discretionary income. Each level should be thought of as a mandatory contribution at the minimum level to satisfy that level in order to unlock longer term and discretionary investment vehicles. And remember, if you have the ability to max out an employer match in a 401k, do it. Free money first.
So remember, all investment strategy is a reflection of where you are on the levels of graduation, plus your own personal risk tolerance. If you're interested in hearing more videos around saving, investing, and all things personal finance, check out our channel at Coins to Capital. Happy saving.